All right. All right. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining the session. I see we've got a good number of people here today. My name is Mike James. I'm an urban planner. I've been working in the urban planning field for 28 years. I've been very fortunate to work on housing projects, both in the public sector, working on zoning cases, master plan developments, as well as in the private sector as a strategic advisor and consultant. A lot of my housing work and interface has been around transit-oriented development and providing student workforce affordable as well as a market rate housing around transit projects. And that's not all of the work that I've done in housing. Also done quite a bit of policy work when it comes to community plans. So that's a little bit about me. Also, let Celeste, if you want to jump in and give a short introduction about yourself and and your role for Matrix.
Will do. Um, Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Celeste Werner. I am the Chief of Strategic Development, former planning director for Matrix, a very passionate planner. I love every component of planning, community planning, and I have over 35 plus years of experience here in the Valley, in the state, and actually nationally, a little bit globally as well. Focus on community engagement as well for all of the different projects that I am part of. It's a passion of mine. And development and partnerships is critical to the engagement, making sure there's successful engagement. That's all I like to say right now. But thank you, Mike, for the
All right.
opportunity to introduce myself.
Thank you. Yeah. So for in this presentation, really what we want to do is kind of hit four main points. The first is kind of introduce the topic, not really take a deep technical dive on the nuts and bolts of every aspect, but really kind of just introduce the opportunities and some of the things that you can think about and you can do, particularly through this technical assistance opportunity. Second thing that we would like to do is provide some examples um, of 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 how you could use some of this technical assistance from the program and apply it to issues, the projects, and the programs that you're working on in your own community. Finally, we'll discuss some of the benefits. We want to share a couple of good developer partnership examples, and then have some time for question and answers. So most of you who survived the COVID and post-COVID years got pretty familiar with Zoom and the tools that we're using. Just as a reminder, if you have any questions that you want to post, maybe you don't want to speak up, feel free to use the chat. If you do have a question, you can also use the raise your hand feature. Or you can just, if you want to just make a break and say, hey, I've got a question about what you just said. We welcome that too. So um, look forward to having a great presentation and discussion with this topic. Okay, so I love this quote, so I just wanted to share it. Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. And just coming off the last panel, talking, hearing from all the community partners, you know, they are doing so much, and those folks and all the programs and opportunities and funding and education that they're bringing together is really a part of what we all need to work together to do. So um, specifically through this program, we've heard this morning that MAG has got great resources for a lot of data collection on socioeconomic, housing, transportation, all the things that you could be concerned about. So there's a rich source from MAG. We have our, community partners that we heard from just in the last panel. they also bring a rich um, package of funding, opportunities, programs. And finally, our role as the consultant team matrix, we we're here to identify and fill those gaps where maybe some of those things might be helpful, but you need to take that next step. And so that's really what that we want to kind of discuss today as you're building partnerships and addressing community support and building a equitable housing environment in your community. We hope to fill some of those gaps through this program. So kind of the work that we're talking about and the expertise that we bring is an interface between practice and expertise. A lot of people are doing a lot of work, and this is just a really unique time and opportunity to focus that expertise on the housing needs that are before us. And I can say in Arizona, history, at least over the last 30 years, we're in a very unique time. Very unique. We've got some new laws that you guys have all heard about. We can discuss that a little bit, but it's really changing the face of what housing is going to look like in our state, in our communities. So a lot of that, a lot of that work relates to, the housing needs assessments that we can provide, the housing policies and housing elements, and the planning work that's going on in your cities and what we do regularly. There's a huge component of community engagement. As you just heard, Amy talking about Celeste's presentation this morning. There's really a robust opportunity to engage communities in unique ways, go to where they are, and really proactively bring out voices and encourage education and develop those partnerships that will make the housing and new housing choices come to fruition. So in addition to just that pure community engagement, we really have an opportunity to cross-reference that with strong community partners to build that advocacy, to implement those funding programs, to educate new uh, affordable and attainable housing players in the region. So a lot of synergy and a lot of opportunity right at the moment. So the last thing that I would say as far as this interface is that it's really implementation focused. So things have to happen. We know that through the state laws, there's timelines for cities to put rules into place. And there's also a deeper need for, based on the housing, what's been termed the housing crisis, and just this greater need for range of housing for all incomes and living. So with that, kind of a little bit, this has been a reoccurring message throughout the day, but yes, change is coming, and actually it's already here. With the introduction of HB 2720, accessible dwelling units, and the missing middle housing legislation, we're upon a place where we're going to see some change coming, where these laws are really going to come into play. Now, being from Seattle, I could not pass up the opportunity to show a picture of the Up House. So maybe this is an opportunity where partnership development and community support fell down a little bit. So rather than stop a major mixed-use development, you can see here in this situation, they built around the single-family house. So ultimately, I think, that's not the kind of partnerships, that's not the kind of collaboration we want to see, but we've got a great opportunity to do great things. So early on in this presentation, I wanted to ask out there, within your individual communities, have you heard any community concerns about these new housing laws? Particularly in the missing middle, where you could be in a single family neighborhood and have townhomes go next door. Um, Anybody out there heard anything or heard anything that would, that you could share? All right. Well, you can be shy. That's all right. Um, well, my perspective on this is that, you know, most people, while they've probably heard about it, they don't really realize, that, there's not a lot of information about like where are all these, where are new housing types going to be allowed? What does that within 1 mile of the downtown mean? So I think there's a need for education in all of our communities about what does this mean? How is it going to work? Of course, we know, the cities have till next January to kind of get their zoning and their development codes in line for it. But I still think, in my opinion, I think uh, some education is needed. Second question here is, do you have a plan to educate your community or build support for expanding housing options? Um, in looking at the attendees list, I know there were several people from their respective housing departments, community development groups, planning groups. So we definitely know that everyone is thinking about it, working on it. Um, but in this kind of framework that we're talking about, how do we do that in a way that builds upon that partnership and those opportunities for housing? So with this home technical assistance program, I just wanted to talk a little bit up front about the technical assistance opportunities. So, as we're working with MAG and and our internal consultant team, we've identified several opportunities we think could be helpful in your Arizona communities. So one example is basically developing a work plan um, with a specific community group or a community-based group around a specific housing development project. So it could be a project that's on a site that's been undeveloped for many years, or it could be an infill site where you want to work with the community to identify, what's going to make this a win-win. What are the outcomes that we want to see with this development? Um, in the last session, Terry Benelli mentioned a project I'll talk about a little bit later. And what she called true engagement really was that early action, getting out and talking to the neighbors of this property, before the development is going into the city, really understanding what are the true needs. Another opportunity is really to identify developers for specific development sites in your city. So as a part of our planning and engineering practice at Matrix, we work with a lot of developers um, on, doing site plans, doing civil engineering, doing community engagement, doing traffic studies, all these types of things. So we do have a uh, you know, rich understanding of like who are the players out there, who are the people um, working in housing. We also have a land development group that understands what it takes to take a project from initiation into construction. So we definitely can work to develop, those target partners for some opportunities within your cities. Some of the ways that we can do that, we can facilitate introductions, of developers and landowners. We can develop informational brochures to target development sites. These could be sites that are city owned, or they could be sites where, you've had a partnership or you're working with a private interest that wants to wants to sell and move on from that property. So there's a lot of different opportunities to really enhance the marketing for housing. Another thing that we've done is host project tours for developers, and really what you can do there is showcase those available properties. You can also develop target development that you would like to see. How many units would you like to see? Are there open space components that are part of it? Um, you know, Identifying what are some of the other site needs on the property, so that when they're coming and looking at this, they have an idea of what the community vision is and what can get approved when that goes to planning and zoning or your city council. Um, and I found that that's been a successful way to really, um, directly share and download that information for to developers. Um, Great example where we did this was we knew that there was a target developer in a different city that he really liked a certain scale of a city and certain size of a city, certain relationship between downtown and higher education, and we actually you know brought that developer into town and basically gave him a tour of the types of opportunity sites that we knew that he liked to develop, and it was just an amazing opportunity because then he got interested in the area and then started talking to all his friends. So those kind of like those kind of like action and then organic follow-on action can be really, really amazing. So we love that opportunity. On the technical side, we can also assist with requests for information, RFPs to facilitate housing development or rehabilitation of existing housing. So, one of the things that Matrix has done is we've helped cities define and expand and update their redevelopment areas. So we understand what goes into those areas. How does that process work of rehabilitation? Or in some cases acquisition, and in some cases just encouraging the private market. So the last one here on this slide is another thing that we could foresee is hosting a developer forum. Again, this is just bringing together developers to identify those opportunities and maybe some of the potential barriers that they might think about on working on a particular site or a certain community. And by understanding what those are, can help you adapt, um, adapt and really encourage the type of development and the types of housing that you want to see. There's a lot of different ways to do this. You could do a town hall, you could do focus groups, you could do an open house. There's just a lot of different ways to engage type of opportunity. Okay. Some of the other things that we could do is develop and host a housing website. You know, this would be, as opposed to a city website, this would be more of a market-based um, website, really showcasing the development sites, the characteristics of the area, the commute sheds, the number of workers, kind of the demographics. Could also identify redevelopment opportunities and incentives. Um, we could showcase any of the educational information for loans, grants, financial opportunities, and partners and partnerships. So, as we heard in that last session, um, our community partners have a lot going on, and they have a lot of programs, and a lot of people don't know about it. So this could be another way to amplify those opportunities in your community. One of the things that we really like doing is creating an ambassador program around programs. So this is really an opportunity to engage community champions, to educate community members, and also, uh, promote and inform, the community about some of the benefits of housing and what they can do to engage in seeing the types of communities and developments that they want. Again, this is another opportunity to partner with community-based organizations, and an opportunity to define what those outcomes can be. So, through an ambassador program, you know, there's an education, there's also a meeting and really learning from those communities what they really want. And I think one of the great opportunities of ambassador program is they usually have what I'll call a home group or home turf, whether it's a geographic area, whether it's a language group, whether it's uh, association with a school or a business association. Um, those ambassadors can really go and target those groups and really bring back a lot of different voices and to really kind of build a coalition and understand what the needs are and how they can be implemented. So uh, that's another great opportunity. Okay. Um, so the last one here I talk about really is the opportunity for developing partnerships around a public-private partnership. So, as you know, this is really just a collaborative arrangement between a government and private sector um, to achieve a goal, to build a project, to operate a project. And in the context of housing, these are being used to, address the shortage of housing and also rejuvenate, existing and maybe tired properties. Um, so whether it's rehabilitation programs, whether it's new build, whether it's affordable housing, Matrix can assist in developing those strategies and opportunities and really, establish the opportunities for that public-private partnership. So something that we would definitely love to work with all of you on. So just a quick note, I've talked a lot about a lot of, oh yes, Celeste.
I just wanted to add just two other ones that you and I discussed a little earlier. And that is another service that we can provide is we have developed an amazing development feasibility model,
Yep.
obviously driven by Esri, Foundation GIS and such. But we have developed this model for numerous developers who've come to us and asked for us to find sites for different type of developments from housing all the way to industrial uses, commercial and such. But what we do is we tailor these models and develop the criteria, weighting and scores and rankings to the specifics that are important. And for instance, that what we could utilize that type of a model for is to incorporate parcels that are government owned that possibly could be used for co-location. You just heard in a previous session for housing opportunities, attainable and affordable housing opportunities, but also parcels that are underused, underutilized, right? And or potentially are blighted and have the opportunity to be redeveloped. And just uh, greenfields as well, vacant parcels that are available. And looking at uh, the commute to transit, to education, to schools, and to obviously the services, the grocery store, barber, and such that are the neighborhood type of commercial services. And that is an amazing tool by identifying these opportunity sites. That's where we could bring those opportunity locations for development for attainable housing in the right location, right? And bring together the development community. And you heard Mike talk a little earlier. We do have a great relationship with numerous developers because we've worked for them or we're working with the community in partnership coordination and negotiations. So that was what I wanted to bring up. And then the other partnership opportunity is we have a strategic partnership with Barclays and other Uh, Financial institutions, of course, Morgan is another banking one, but there's a number of CDFIs. You heard Terry talk about LISC being a CDFI, and CDFIs provide that opportunity for funding affordable housing, where in most cases the ROI on that is paid in dividends plus. So very affordable and a lot of value in community um, assets are incorporated into that type of CDFI funding program. So bringing the different type of partners together with the communities, with yourselves, as well as the developers in the financing community, and the other financing programs is something that I know that we would be able to be very successful at in providing service. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Celeste. That's a great example. I know in talking to some elected leaderships in some of the Valley communities, they're like, we want to do something, but you know, we're maybe a little bit hesitant on what is the right thing to do. So certainly, dialing in, developing those metrics and understanding, the objectives and be able to do that kind of suitability analysis is really helpful. So great point. Yeah. So again, here, this is just kind of this is when it comes to those partnerships, we've got a great toolbox of tools that we like to bring and can work with you on any of these. Okay. So who can we bring together? I think most of you here know who the key players are, but just wanted to kind of hit on this because it's just really important. There's unique opportunities. Every partnership um, brings a new strength and a new perspective. And so, working with the housing and human service agencies, here in the Valley, there's great examples of Ability 360, Habitat for Humanity, Foundations for Senior Living, Newtown Community Land Trust. You could go on and on. There's a great number um, of folks and agencies out there doing a lot of really great work. So really, when it comes to developing partnerships, it's like who's active in your area, who wants to be active in your area, what do they bring, what are their goals, um, uh, what are their 5-year plans, what's their number one priority. So understanding that can be a great starting point for you know get moving the needle. Again, nonprofit agencies focused on housing um, are, another great group of folks that, are really are they're in it and they want to expand those opportunities for housing, for housing choice, um, for affordable workforce, student, for all types of housing. Um, so wanted to mention the Community Land Trust. This is a great type of organization, nonprofit, that basically holds the land in which housing is on to maintain that long-term affordability. Um, and then basically they build for rent properties, lease them at a lower rate. Um, and it's a great opportunity to address revitalizing areas with new attainable housing throughout the community. We've got it's a good example I'll show here in a moment. So again, nonprofit funding, foundations, and philanthropy partners are amazing. We heard about, Vitalist, LISC, Arizona Community Foundation, Chicanos por la Causa. There's a ton of these. There's a lot of good groups out there that want to come together. And it's exciting for Terry and LISC to be later this year to be bringing, the education to some of those nonprofits. When that happens, that is going to be a great opportunity to link up um, opportunities in your communities that maybe you're working with on your own or with us through this technical assistance to bring those two groups together. Who are those nonprofits that want to engage in housing development? Where do they want to be? I really hope that through, that effort and this effort, we can marry those up and again, move the needle on this. Um, Community-based organizations. So whether it's local business association, neighborhood associations, homeowners associations, urban and transportation focused advocates, faith-based organizations, schools or other geographic based coalitions. There's a group out there, and they're going to have a say, and they're going to want to partner. Whether it's making sure that it's safe for you know future residents or their own kids to get to school, whether, development is in character with their neighborhoods, whether it's providing opportunities for their kids to grow up and be able to live in the same neighborhoods. Um, there's a lot of voices out there and a lot of partners. So, um, reaching out, coordinating, developing those programs to cast the net is really important. Um, Another one I would say is urban development, economic-based community development corporations can be a huge help in in fostering partnerships, making connections, um, and kind of working, working that private sector um, for local improvements, for building wealth in communities, right? So um, these are just great partners to engage. Another perspective that I've taken in my career is that, you know, our federal partners are partners. Yeah, yes, they are the federal government. Yes, they have these massive agencies and programs. But when you get down to the individual program level, I've found that, in the agencies that I've worked with, particularly FTA, HUD, um, you know, EPA, they want to do good. They want to get the funding out to local communities and they want to see action. Um, I think a great example is, recently the city of Phoenix has been very successful in achieving FTA transit-oriented development pilot grants with one of the recent ones being focused on implementation. And so that's turning a corner. So that's, for that government agent to say, no, we're not just going to do planning now, but we're actually going to fund implementation so that you can rewrite your development codes for healthy communities that encourage new housing, that allow, attainable housing in your communities. That's a big step. So always have to look to the federal partnerships as well. Um, so just a little bit of kind of perspective on, those partnerships. And what I've seen successful is, really these 6 steps. You got to assemble an effective team, and that's not just planners. That's not just uh, a development group. That's not just a funding group. It's everybody that's really going to contribute to that success. So it really is probably a wide group of departments, funding agencies, um, community organizations to really realize, good housing implementation. Secondly, you got to identify and define those shared goals and strategies. 3, secure that leadership and elected support. Really, that will help you move the ball forward, knowing that, this is something that yes, is supported and will be well, you'll have the tools to keep moving that forward. Kind of number 4 is a big one, attracting funding partners, utilizing flexible funding programs, building that you've heard that stack of opportunities of, funding, tax loans, grants, all those things that really can support, this your ultimate goal of housing, whatever type that it's going to be. The next thing is really, targeting those agreeable parcels for development. And that's really what Celeste was talking about a little bit more is, we have those tools, those GIS tools that we've developed to um, put in those metrics and those issues and the criteria that the development of housing needs, and really target in those areas. So really, it's pretty exciting work. And then ultimately, um, develop strong agreements and boundaries to align all those goals and keep it moving forward. So, um, you know, one of the things I'm really proud of is I was on a team and got to actually use these 6 steps to develop an affordable housing project as part of a team member. The picture you see there is Mercy Housing Othello, 108 units in South Seattle. It was a project that targeted families earning $18,000 to $55,000 per year, so pretty low income for that community. Um, but again, this was an opportunity where um, land was underutilized. It was an old construction laydown yard. It was owned by an agency that was just easier for them just to let it sit there and be dirt. And this proactive team said, no, let's actually let's actually bring in our partners. Let's build a coalition and let's advance the project. So you can see it there. Although that's a photo sim, I can tell you that it's built and there's a lot of people living there that really enjoy that location and that housing. So again, I would also say this is also a JP Morgan Chase pro project, as they were the lenders for the project. So doing good work in a lot of places. So the next couple of slides really just want to talk about some partnership success stories. Maybe this can get you thinking about opportunities in your own community, uh, moving forward. So this is a project that Matrix worked on, Valor on the Facts in Denver. Um, this was a 72 unit affordable housing complex, and it was targeted for people with traumatic brain injury. So it had a specific market where the development could accommodate their needs. It was ADA compliant, worked for wheelchairs, and also had that affordability component that made it just a great option for folks with that condition. Um, and this was a one of those partnerships where a lot of teaming came together, a lot of coalition came together, and really it was a successful project with no opposition in the implementation. Another example I'd love to talk about is Tipper Sky in Flagstaff. This is ultimately a master plan community, but it also includes some attainable housing options with probably the most innovative one I've ever heard of was a partnership with Habitat for Humanity of Northern Arizona. Also had some state lottery money and some other community partners. But basically, they established this starter home program um, where this is really for uh, say low income workers. They can get into that home for $1,000 down payment. Um, and after 10 years of living there, um, they're required to move out, but they also get a $100,000 check towards the down payment of their own home. So just a great starter program for providing great housing in a great neighborhood. Um, again, a lot of partnerships came together to make this happen. Again, just you know, these are some of the other examples of housing that's going in. So there's 200 rental units, and then a future development for multifamily, as well as there's a significant number of single family houses in the project as well. Um, so this is the project that Terry Bedelli was referencing in the last session, La Victoria Commons in Tempe, in the Escalante neighborhood, um, just north, just north of Apache Boulevard and just east of the 101 freeway, um, really right next to the light rail station. Again, a lot of proactive work in the community to, identify, hey, what's going to make this successful? How is this going to work? What's important? So, again, this is 104 apartments, 19 townhomes. They each have 1 to 3 bedrooms. This was a low income tax credit project. Um, so, rent is subsidized. They also identified some neat, unique opportunities on the site. There's a restaurant where staff of the developer actually work there. And they have, uh, on-site healthcare for folks with intellectual or mental diagnoses. So, this is a supportive environment for, kind of a unique population, but really woven into a great part of town. You know, the the Apache corridor is really realizing a lot of new and really interesting housing opportunities, as you know. Um, another example, a little bit different. This is really a project that's targeted to middle income earners um, and not really relying on government subsidies. So it's the Steamliner on 67th, so the 67th Avenue McDowell. This was a joint venture between affordable housing developer and private equity, a real estate firm. And you can see, a lot of units, 292 units, um, studio 1 and 2 bedrooms, ranging from 1,000 to 1,399. So, just another option, not a traditional affordable project, but an option for what I'll call attainable or workforce housing, and very beautiful project. Um, So this is another interesting project. Earlier, I was talking about community land trust, and this is just a great example. This is Newton Community Land Trust. They're Tempe micro estates. Um, you know, basically, this is a this is a great um, redevelopment opportunity, and also providing housing for for folks in Tempe. So there's basically the land is all owned by the land trust, and then they rent the individual units. Let's see, let's do this. So you can kind of see these micro estates. They're 600 square feet. So but they have a loft bedroom. There's a second story for the loft bedroom. Um, full size bathroom. It's open concept. Um, very much uh, developed, to be a community of interaction. You can even see in the picture, folks are outside talking. There's a nice plaza space. Um, High quality materials, um, just, a lot of sustainability was built into the project with the energy, performance, and needs. So just another example of a housing choice. Um, so kind of on the technical side, this was submitted as a planned area development. So that really allowed some flexibility in some of the site and lot conditions. They could modify setbacks and really make this work. This also benefited some of the policies around the reduction of parking in transit corridors. So, really a focus on sustainability, affordable housing, and then, access to good transportation with it and multimodal facilities. So, one to just kind of define some key conclusions and practices and opportunities as you've got an opportunity to consider technical assistance. You know, I would say define some strong partnerships to address those community needs. Whether it's the new state laws that are, putting some definition around ADUs or the missing middle housing, or your housing needs. Be proactive. Take this opportunity, whatever it is. Work with those community partners. Work with Meg. Use that data. Apply for the technical systems. It's a great opportunity. When you need to bring in specialists to address unique issues, do it because that can be a barrier sometimes uh, if you just don't have, if you're a small community or you just don't have that specialty. Maybe you don't have that GIS team that can create a specialized model to define, the types of parcels that you would need for a housing project. Well, we can do that. you know, encourage your developers in to work closely with stakeholders, make those connections, build those coalitions. It is so great when a developer is going to city council and he knows that he's got a community behind him and a support, really like what happened to the La Victoria project in Tempe. It's just a really great thing. It's a win-win. Use unique methods to create partnerships and connections. If you want to kind of delve into that a little bit, if you didn't see Celeste's presentation, Meg will have it on community engagement and participation. Go and check that out. There's a lot there that you can do. And the last two is really establish those priorities for your housing. You know, through the SB 1162. Obviously, the cities are going to be needing to update their housing needs assessment, but just don't look at the data. Take that data to the next level. Next level. How does that integrate into specific plans? How does that integrate into your housing element of your general plan? Make those policy documents work for you. Um, you know, and lastly, establish those partnerships to address multiple priority wins. So, you know, when you have a coalition or a partnership, it's not one win, it's several wins. So, um, that's just a great opportunity to leverage that opportunity. So, before I go to questions and discussion, anything you'd like to add, Celeste, before we get into some questions?
No, not at this time. I think you did
Okay.
a great job overview. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. Anyone out there want to unmute and risk a question?
Okay, well, we don't have anyone in the chat room, Mike, but
This is Mary from Scottsdale. I'll risk a question.
thank you, Mary.
You're welcome. So if I sound really silly, go ahead and laugh at me.
No, no.
So the city is considering purchasing a property. So the city has the funds, but there is a nonprofit partner that potentially wants to have units given to them for a lesser amount. How does the city coordinate so that we are not providing it to just one nonprofit over another?
Oh, good question. I'll take the first answer and you can add on. So, yeah, because you want to make sure you're not getting into the gift clause, correct? Um, so one of the ways that I know that this happens is the cities will actually develop an RFP and then they will seek partners in providing that subsidized housing. And so part of that RFP would include the conditions that you need or want as a city. And so some of the things that that would include is, what are the requirements for living there? That each of the either the renters would have to, what are those conditions? How are you going to be how are you going to be managing the property? How are you going to be working with residents? What what if any services are going to be part of that development? Are there any community elements? Maybe there's a small retail component that you want as a city. What are those types of improvements? So basically, the way I've seen this been done is basically a RFP would develop the options, and then it's out there for those nonprofits or developers or whoever to really respond to that RFP.
Okay, can I ask you another question? Because it
Sure.
will be a housing agency that is the city that is going to project base the units. So we're not necessarily looking for a developer because it would be the city
Okay.
purchasing the 21 units. The city housing agency would use the project-based voucher. So it would be a project-based voucher site. We would
Okay.
open up a wait list, but there is a nonprofit that brought the idea to the city that wants to be part of the process. So I'm more curious how to do an RFP that it doesn't involve us giving money to somebody, but more so a partnership for nonprofits to use the facility
Yeah. I
without
think that,
services,
yeah.
because that
Yeah.
will kill it in the city if I start mentioning services and
No, that's great. So it sounds like this could be structured as an operational agreement, right? So it's not really about ownership. It's really about their their role is operating this. Um, so would they are they interested in like basically managing the renters and the people coming in and the subsidy program or
no.
guys?
So
No?
no, so the city would contract with a nonprofit. We are purchasing the property with a mix of general funds or city funds and federal funds. So we're well aware of relocation assistance and have all that plotted out. But we need to be able to say, how can we partner with a nonprofit without giving away money? Because we're asking them to pay us to rent these apartments, two of them.
Gotcha. Um,
See, I'm glad I'm making head spin because I can see Celeste's eyes thinking.
it's
I
yeah, yeah. I'm thinking too.
I
I'm
don't know how
thinking,
to answer this question in an upcoming council meeting, to be honest with you, as everyone hears me say this.
yeah. That's a great question. So it also sounds like so they're looking to just have in a lease for a certain number of units
They do at a reduced rate.
at a reduced rate.
But again,
Um,
I can't offer that to one nonprofit as a government entity without offering it to all.
right.
So what does that look like is how I'm supposed to answer that question.
So I'll take a shot and then you can follow me up, Celeste. So I would believe that if they're gonna be getting a reduced rate, they would need to have some contribution towards that subsidy, right? If they're going to get a benefit of it, there has to be, and that could be securing a grant that contributes as a partner into the project, um, or some other funding source, or some other amenity that is yeah, I think it would have to be almost like a some kind of grant contribution that their agency was contributing to the overall project in return for the subsidy of those two units. What's your thoughts, Celeste?
I know. I think that is one good option. Another one would be what is their benefit? What are they going to be providing as a community benefit or
Yeah.
community amenity? And you said that indirectly, Mike, but a community additional community amenity which they could utilize, they could provide through grants, right? Would
Hmm.
be possibly an outdoor passive and or active, park, sitting park, or depending on the demographics, that will be at this location. It could be an active park. It could be a community amenity that provides, transportation to and from different community services that the residents would need as well. We've negotiated those types of community amenities and others into different agreements. So that would be in lieu of, right, the gap of the total rent that you would be requiring from others.
So we could ask them to help pay for the rehabilitation cost of the units, is what you're saying?
That would be an option as far as an additional amenity. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Those are good ideas.
Excellent.
Yeah, the other thing to think about is if their nonprofit, has a mission like I don't, maybe they're into providing transportation services to the elderly, right? They could offer that services not just to the two people in their units, but other people in that unit as an offset. So things like any kind of services could be an offset to that benefit as well.
They would provide basically what they want is transitional housing for people coming out of a shelter, but I can't use the word homelessness because it will
Mhm.
kill the project.
Sure.
Uh, so,
Yeah.
all right.
Well,
Those are good ideas for what can they leverage with the city. Thank you.
thank
Right.
you, Mary. That was a great question.
Yeah, that was outstanding. Transitional workforce housing, maybe. I don't know. It's a thought.
Yeah,
That is a NIMBY word in the city.
Yeah,
sure.
I know that. Sorry, Vicky. Any other questions? We have 3 minutes left. Okay. Mike, I don't know if you wanted to, for the last few minutes, if you wanted to talk about how we've engaged in partnerships with actually facilitating between communities and state lands.
Oh, great question. So, uh, that's a great one. So, we're currently doing a specific area plan out in the city of Buckeye, and the majority of the specific area is undeveloped state land. So, um, what we're doing there is, we're working with the city, we're working with the community, we're working with Arizona State Land as a major stakeholder in the project and having specific developer focused meetings. So we're not only meeting with state lands to understand, hey, their desires, they have a mission, they have a mission to fund the state initiatives and education, and we understand that, and we agree with that. We think that's great. At the same time, um, we are working with the city and our development partners to create the most value on that land. So what that takes is great coordination. So we've set up regular check-in meetings with Arizona State Land. We've also had individual developer meetings to understand, hey, what is the development community and partners? What do they see as opportunities on the property? As well as having a forum and bringing them all together in a group, having a group discussion about, how could this work? Ultimately, that land is going to go to auction, and when it does go to auction, the city of Buckeye wants to have a plan in place that the community supports. And when doing our outreach with the general community, they're really encouraged. They're like, wow, this is really great. You guys are planning this vacant land. I didn't realize that you do that. And it's like, yeah, there's not a lot of places where there's, the land like this available to really, master plan and work with the property owner on a specific plan. So really excited about that opportunity. That project's called The Landing in the city of Buckeye. So we hope to have a really rich mix of housing, entertainment opportunities, really mixed use, residential entertainment focused district. Yeah.
Well, we hit the 3 o'clock mark. Um, on behalf of Matrix, I'd like to say thank you very, very much. Again, Mike, you did a great job. Thank you as well for your presentation today on the partnership component. We we welcome all of you. If you have any questions after this session, feel free to reach out to Amy or Sepna at MAG. And we're also available. I would say it's probably best to coordinate through MAG, but we're here. You could always reach out to us also, but we look forward to hopefully working with each and every one of you. And once again, we um, emphasize and encourage you all to go to the MAG website, as you've heard in each one of the sessions. And thank you so much for your time
Yeah,
throughout the day today. I know everybody's very, very busy, but thank you again. Have a
great.
good one.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.